Well, hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Now I know it's been a little bit of a while since we put a video out, but today we've got something really exciting for you. Now for those of you who've been following the channel for a while, you may remember that we hinted a couple of years ago about a bike park project at a school. Now after a lot of work with a lot of people, we are finally in a position where I can share the details with you, and what's more exciting, as you can probably see behind me, the work on this really exciting project has actually begun. So let me take you off to a little bit of a quieter spot so I can fill you in on all the details. Okay, that's a bit better. So I am here in Quinn Woods, up behind Clonfufflin High School, and apologies for my pronunciations, I'm generally pretty terrible at that. So anyone familiar with this area and mountain biking will know that quite a few big names have made this place their home. For many years, the Afton's main base of operations was about 10 minutes down the road from here. The Seagraves still live about 10 minutes the other way, and quite a few notable people even went to the school here. World Cup rider Joe Breeden went to the school here, Chaos Seagrave also went to the school here, and even other people from the mountain bike world such as legendary filmmaker Robbie Mead went to the school here. Now these woods have always had bike trails in them, and many of the names I mentioned, as well as countless other kids, have fallen in love with mountain biking within these very woods. Now over the years these trails have gone through various iterations, as they've always been kind of ad hoc and managed by whoever's in the area and whoever's riding at the time. And while that's been great, it has meant that, they've gone through various stages of being well maintained to kind of going into disrepair and then being picked up again by the next generation and built up again. And it's kind of gone through that cycle for, I'm guessing, 10 to 15 years. Sadly, due to a number of different reasons, over the last few years, the trails have fallen into disrepair. One of the main issues with the site was that there's a lot of ash trees in this forest, and they were affected by ash dieback, which made them quite unsafe, which made it more difficult for people to be allowed access to the site. Coupled with the changes in policies at school meant that the security of the school had to be tightened up, and that also impacted on the access to the site. Now these are problems that everyone has been desperate to solve, and that's kind of where I got brought into the conversation a couple of years ago. So after the bike park shut down, I found myself at a bit of a loose end and looking for something to fill my days, and that led to a conversation with a friend of mine called Mark, who owns the local supermarket and is also a big supporter of this project. And he asked if we would be willing to come and have a look and give us our thoughts on what could be done with the woods. Now the main aim was to figure out some way of making sure that everyone could get access to it, but also improving the trails and developing into something even better than they were before. So James and I came up, I had a look around the woods, and we realized that there was a lot of potential here to build something pretty special, but we decided, if we were going to do it, we were going to do it right. So this was about the time that we teased it in our video, say a couple of years back, and gave you an idea of what we were getting up to with our time. But it's taken a little bit of time to figure out all the details. So this site is actually owned by Powys County Council, and we approached them to discuss the idea, and they were super keen to get behind it and help make it happen. So they began working with the Clonfufflin Town Council to essentially arrange a lease where they would lease the land to the Town Council, who would then take over the responsibility of it, and that would basically allow us to come in here and redevelop it, but also create a new bike club, which is going to be ultimately managing the site. There was a fair bit of back and forth and negotiations to get that to work, but we have now secured that lease, and that is all sorted. So a big thank you to Powys County Council and to Clonfufflin Town Council for really digging in and making that happen. Now the next step was figuring out how we were going to physically fund and make it happen. Now we've got plenty of volunteers in the area, myself included, who are willing to sort of put their time into it to make it happen, but some things cost money, and we ended up having a conversation with Welsh Cycling, who were super excited about the project and super supportive. So over the last sort of year or so, we've been working through them on a grant application, and we're very happy to say that they've come up with a not insignificant budget that's allowed us to crack on with the work. While all of that negotiation was going on, we've also managed to make some practical progress in the site. As I said, there was a big issue in here with a lot of ash trees that were suffering from ash dieback, and for those of you unfamiliar with what ash dieback is, it's a pretty nasty disease, because what it does is it essentially rots the tree from the inside out. And what this means is you can end up with a tree which from the outside looks fairly healthy, but can literally just snap in half at any moment. Obviously, when you're wanting a site like this where you want the general public to come in, that's a pretty big concern. So we did a deal back in February with a local forester who would come in here with his machines, basically cut down and get rid of all of the diseased trees and thin the forest out, in exchange for him essentially just taking the wood away, which was awesome. That saved a huge amount of money for the project. After we'd finished that forestry work, James came in with our machine and spent a week just tidying up and basically just repairing the roads so that it wouldn't turn into a swamp if we left it for a while. Also, local forester / tree surgeon Tom Hausman agreed to come in with not only his chainsaws but also his chipper to go through and basically tidy up a lot of the brash and stuff that was left over from the forestry. And as you can see, I'm sat on a pile of that brash. Also, a big thank you to the locals who came along to help out with that work. It's made a huge difference in tidying up the site and getting it ready for the build. So right now it's the middle of July and this is our first official day on site. So the main trail build isn't going to happen for a couple of months just due to the availability of key personnel. So what's happening today is we're essentially coming in to do some of the foundational work to prepare the site for that main build. In particular, that means, sorting out the drainage after the forestry work, but also building the main sort of push-up / access road, which will get us to the top of the site, which is not only going to be important, obviously, for riders to get about, but it's also going to be important when we come back later, because we need to be able to move machines about to do the build. So this week we've got James from Revolution, as well as Farmer John, who's come down from Stockport to help out with this project. And we've also got Lee, who's our mechanic and part-time forester at Revolution, who's doing some tree work for us. Over the next few days, we're going to tidy up the site, but we're also going to be bringing in a lot of stone in order to reinforce some of the roads that we need to get access across. Main reason we're doing this now is when we come back in a couple of months, there's every chance the weather's not going to be as kind as it is now, and we don't want to be churning the site up with our machines as we move around. So with all my time yapping, the chainsaws and machines are getting closer, so let's walk up to the top of the site and we'll talk about what we're actually going to build here. Okay. So, now the best way I can describe it for you is essentially a community bike park. This will be a gravity-focused park aimed specifically at younger and less experienced riders. The aim being to give something to this community for particularly the younger people to be able to come here and ride and hopefully fall in love with mountain biking. Now, despite the fact that Revolution has a well-earned reputation for being for more experienced riders, that's not what we're planning on building here. The plan is to build 3 trails, a green trail, a blue trail, and a red trail. The green trail is going to be a fairly easy, fun, sort of flowy trail designed for everyone on smaller bikes, but also balance bikes. The blue trail will allow riders to progress on from the green, including sort of jumps and drops and other features like that, but small enough that most people can tackle them when they're starting out. And then the red trail will provide a little bit more progression with some more technical jumps and maybe the odd gap jump thrown in there as an option. As well as these 3 trails, we're going to be building a skills area down at the end of the woods. The skills area is also going to be aimed at younger riders and designed to give a condensed area filled with lots of different kinds of features where they can practice and hone their abilities. Alongside the skills area, we're also going to be building a shelter, which will give the parents somewhere to sit and watch the kids ride, but it'll also be useful for coaching and teaching and anything you need to get out of the weather for. As we progress through the build, I'm planning on documenting it in the video, so we'll be able to share more details of the trails as we're building them. Now, it's important to note the main ethos of this project has been about providing access to everyone. So this will be a free-to-use bike park. It won't be a paid one. There will be a membership scheme, which I'll talk about in a minute, but even that will be free to join. We're very fortunate and privileged to be able to live in this kind of beautiful rural area, but it can be quite difficult, particularly for kids, because there's not a lot for them to do and it can be quite hard for them to travel from place to place. So we think this is going to be a great activity spot for the community and also help to continue the long pedigree of mountain biking in this area. The close proximity to the school is also awesome because the school is hoping to utilize it and even include it into their curriculum, so you may even see courses or educational classes being done about mountain biking on this site. Now, this is a complicated project with a lot of moving parts, but there are so many local people who are dedicated to mountain biking and to this project who are really pulling together to make this a success. On a personal note, I must say it's incredibly uplifting to work on this project. In a world that's often surrounded with bad news, it's great to be a part of such a shining example of the kind of good things you can do when we all pull together. So I know many of the local people who are familiar with the site and its history will be asking about how the access is going to work. Now, as I said, there's still a lot to figure out and a lot of work to be done, but what I can tell you categorically is everyone involved in this project is focused on providing as much access as much of the time as possible. Now, we have plans in the works to essentially make it accessible at pretty much all times, but we're still working through that, so I'll share more details in the future of that. But rest assured, once this project is done, getting in here is going to be a lot easier than it has been before. As I mentioned before, there will be a membership scheme, which to ride here, you will need to join. Now, don't worry, it's not going to be a particularly long-winded or laborious process. If all goes well, it'll be a simple online process. And the main reason for that is just so that we can make sure that we give you the information you need. That's things like what kind of trails are here, what kind of safety equipment you need, what the opening hours are. And it's just to make sure that, as I say, we've had an opportunity to fill you in on all the details. There will be no cost to that membership scheme. It will be free to join, and you will be able to do it, hopefully on your phone, when you turn up here. I will caveat that slightly, say there may be an optional donation that you can do, which that money going towards helping to maintain the trails, but that will be entirely optional. No one should feel pressured to do that in any way, shape or form. There'll be no sort of premium memberships or anything like that. It is simply something there for those who are in a position to be able to donate something to the project can, but like I say, no one should feel pressured to do so. Part of the way we're designing and building the trails is to minimize the need for maintenance, which will keep the costs down, therefore not requiring huge amounts of sort of revenue coming in. This project's being managed by the Llanfyllin Community Initiative. Now, the LCI has been a great group that's done some really great work in the area. They have built a pump track in the community area in the centre of town, and they also run the Welsh Enduro stage here at Greenhall Farm. It's made up of some really awesome people and super dedicated riders who are desperately keen to see this project be a success and will be taking on a lot of the management and maintenance at long term. So hopefully that fills you in on a bit of the details, and hopefully you're as excited as we are to see this project go forward. Obviously follow the LCI's Facebook page, link will be in the description, and you can follow our YouTube channel if you want to, because we'll be doing future updates here too. Also in the description will be contact details for the LCI. If you are a local person or local business who would like to get involved and support this project, then we'd love to hear from you and discuss ways that you can do that. To that end, I have some big thank yous to do for some of the people who have been supporting us. So first off, let me talk about Ridgeway Rentals. Now, Ridgeway Rentals are a plant hire and sales company based out of Oswestry, not far from here. So obviously to do this kind of project, we need some pretty heavy machinery. Now, Ridgeway Rentals have pretty much every bit of kit you could imagine. They have a huge fleet of some amazing machinery, which covers pretty much everything from small builds up to giant landscaping projects. Now, during the planning phases of this project, we reached out to Ridgeway Rentals to discuss our needs for machinery and essentially to get some costings. I've got to say I was pretty blown away by their response. Pretty much as soon as we reached out to them and explained what we were trying to do here, the immediate response was, just tell us what you need and we'll get it there. You know, not a hint of negotiation, not a question, just yes, this sounds like a great project. Yes, we want to support it. So we'll put machines on the lorries and we'll get them over to you when you need them. So they brought the machines over this morning, and I was fortunate to have a chat with one of their guys about why they were so keen to support this project. So I'm here with Adam from Ridgeway Rentals. So first off, Adam, let me say a huge thank you to yourself and the team at Ridgeway for supporting this project. You know, we really couldn't have got it done without you guys. And I'm just curious as to what was it that drew yourself and Ridgeway to wanting to support the project?
So we see Llanfyllin as part of our local community. We think it's really important to support projects like the one you're running with machines like these. So what we've got here is the 140X, fantastic machine for excavating groundworks and things. It's a great pair as well with the dumper as well, so you can take all that stuff away.
I think they're certainly going to be the tool for the job, and yeah, I've got to be honest, a lot posher than what we're used to. They really are nice looking machines. So yeah, once again, I can't say thank you enough from myself, people of Llanfyllin. It's going to be an awesome project, and hopefully you might even get out here on a bike sometime.
Yeah, maybe.
The machines they provide are absolutely top notch. They are pretty much brand new, top of the range machines, and yeah, they just brought it out here and said, build something great, love to be a part of it. And just to further demonstrate how great they've been for this project, but also how on the ball they are, we were supposed to be bringing our machine over this week. We have a Volvo 4-tonner, and we were going to bring that over to be the second machine for building the road. Unfortunately, literally on Friday, I think it was about 5 o'clock, as we were essentially bringing our machine out of what used to be the woods to get it picked up and brought over here, we had a major mechanical issue which meant it was out of commission. So I rang them up in a panic. I'm pretty sure it was about 5 o'clock on Friday, and explained what happened. And I said, look, I'm not trying to be cheeky and get another machine after you've always been so great to us. We'll pay for the machine, but we just desperately need this 5-ton machine next week, or we can't go ahead with the project. Andrew, one of the guys on the hire team, basically said, well, give me a minute, I'll check up on the availability of our machines. And he put me on hold for, I think, all of about 30 seconds, came back and said, yeah, not a problem, we'll get a machine over to you, no charge. I mean, again, amazing support, but also, as I say, last thing on a Friday, need a machine first thing on a Monday, not a problem, on a lorry, and it's arrived about half an hour ago. So yeah, cannot thank Ridgeway Rentals enough for their support for this project. It's made a huge difference, and obviously if you're in this area with any project, be it small or large, I guarantee you they'll have the machine you need. So make sure to check them out, give them some love, show them some support, because without them, I'm not sure we could have got this project together. So as well as the machines, we also need a lot of material for the site. The ground here is very soily and earthy. It's fine for sort of building some fun ad hoc trails, but if you want them to really last long term and to not need constant maintenance, we knew we were going to need some stone and better material. So that leads me to my next big thank you, which is to Evans Aggregates. So Evans Aggregates are a local supplier of all kinds of material, from recycled concrete, hardcore, everything you can name, they can pretty much source and supply it. To make this project work, we need a lot of stone and hardcore for surfacing, and in terms of the sort of costs for the various quotes I was getting, it's somewhere around a third to a half of the budget. Now during the planning phases, Evans Aggregates provided me with quotes for the project, and I've got to be honest, their pricing was the lowest that I got out of any other supplier. Now, always keen to stretch our budget as far as I can on this project. I sat down with Evans and explained what we were doing and said, look, is there any chance that you can help us out maybe? Now, given the immense cost involved with quarrying, crushing, sorting and transporting that volume of stone, I wasn't particularly optimistic that I was going to be able to save much money there. But I've got to say, Evans have absolutely come through for us. Essentially what they've done is halved the price of what was already the best price I could find for stone. But this incredibly generous offer has taken a lot of pressure off us to be able to deliver this awesome project on what is quite a tight budget. So yeah, Evans Aggregate, awesome company. If you have any materials requirements, definitely reach out to them. So links for their website will be in the description. Again, check them out, send them some love, because again, without them, I'm not sure where we'd be on this project. Anyway, so I've been sat here avoiding working for long enough now, so I better get my hard hat back on, head on down and go do some work. I hope you found this video interesting. I hope that it sort of filled in a lot of the gaps, and hope you're as excited as we are to see this project come to life. As I said, follow the LCI Facebook page, follow us here on YouTube. I'll be doing more videos tracking the build and the progress, and also documenting what hopefully will be this awesome site once it's opened. So thanks again guys, and we'll see you in the next one.